In the past few days, something very serious has been unfolding behind the headlines, something that could reshape the entire Middle East and possibly the world. While public statements talk about talks, agreements, and peace, the reality on the ground tells a very different story. This is not just diplomacy, this is preparation for war. Right now, the United States, Israel, and Iran are not stepping back. They are stepping forward. And what we are seeing is a massive military buildup that signals one thing clearly. Everyone is getting ready for what could be the next phase of this conflict. Let's break this down. First, let's talk about the United States. Even while claiming that negotiations are ongoing, the U.S. has not slowed down its military posture. In fact, it has intensified it. We are seeing increased deployment of naval assets in the region, including aircraft carriers, destroyers, and submarines. These are not defensive moves alone. These are strategic positioning decisions. Because when aircraft carriers move, they don't just move randomly. They move with purpose. They move when a country wants to project power or prepare for escalation. At the same time, reports suggest that U.S. Marines are being mobilized and repositioned closer to the Middle East. Now, why would that happen during peace talks? Because military planners always prepare for the worst-case scenario. If negotiations fail, the U.S. wants to be ready, not weeks later, not days later, but immediately. That's how modern warfare works. You don't wait for war to begin, you prepare before it begins. Now let's look at Iran. Iran is not sitting still either. Despite denying direct negotiations, Iran has made one thing very clear. It is fully prepared to defend itself and retaliate. We've already seen missile launches targeting Israeli cities and U.S. bases, but more importantly, Iran is shifting into a wartime posture. Military units are being mobilized, air defense systems are being activated, strategic assets are being repositioned. And perhaps most importantly, Iran has taken a step that shook the global economy. It has effectively closed or threatened to control the Strait of Hormuz. This is one of the most important oil routes in the world. Around 20% of global oil passes through this narrow waterway. By threatening it, Iran is not just targeting its enemies, it is sending a message to the entire world. If we go down, the global economy goes down with us. This is not just military strategy, this is economic warfare. Now let's bring Israel into the picture. Israel is playing one of the most aggressive roles in this entire conflict. Airstrikes have intensified. Targets are no longer limited to military bases. They now include infrastructure, supply routes, and strategic positions across Lebanon and Iran. Israeli forces are also preparing for long-term engagement, especially in Lebanon. This suggests something critical. Israel is not planning for a short conflict. It is preparing for a prolonged war. And when a country prepares for a long war, it means they believe this conflict will not end quickly, even if negotiations are happening. Now, here's where things get even more serious. All sides, U.S., Iran, and Israel, are preparing simultaneously. This creates a dangerous situation, because when multiple powers prepare for war at the same time, even a small mistake can trigger a massive escalation. Think about it. Missiles are already being launched. Airstrikes are already happening. Troops are already moving. Now imagine one miscalculation, one wrong target, one accidental strike. That's all it takes. And suddenly, the situation can spiral out of control. Let's talk about the psychological aspect of this buildup, because war is not just fought with weapons, it's also fought with perception. Right now, every side is trying to show strength. The United States is saying, we are ready to strike anytime. Iran is saying, we are not afraid, and we will respond. Israel is saying, we will continue until our objectives are achieved. This is a classic power dynamic. No one wants to look weak, because in international politics, weakness invites pressure. So instead of stepping back, everyone steps forward. Now let's analyze what could happen next. There are three possible scenarios. This is the best-case scenario. Negotiations, whether direct or indirect, start to produce real results. A temporary ceasefire is reached. Military forces remain in place, but active fighting slows down. However, even in this scenario, the buildup doesn't disappear because trust is broken. And once trust is broken, military readiness becomes permanent. This is the most likely scenario right now. Fighting continues, but stays within certain limits. Airstrikes, missile attacks, and proxy battles increase, but full-scale invasion is avoided. This creates a long, grinding conflict, similar to other regional wars. In this case, the military buildup continues, and even grows, because each side tries to gain a strategic advantage over time. This is the worst-case scenario. Negotiations collapse completely. The U.S. launches large-scale strikes. Iran responds with full force. Israel expands operations across multiple fronts. At this point, the conflict is no longer regional. It becomes global. Oil prices skyrocket, global markets crash, and multiple countries are pulled into the war. Now, here's the key question. Which scenario are we heading toward? Right now, the answer is unclear, because we are seeing mixed signals. On one hand, there are talks. On the other hand, there is massive military preparation, and when those two things happen at the same time, it usually means one thing. Both sides are preparing for peace and war at the same time. Let's talk about timing. The next few days are critical. There's mention of a short pause, around 5 days, in certain military actions. This is not random. Short pauses like this are often used for two reasons. Number one, to test whether negotiations are possible. Number two, to reposition forces. So even a pause does not mean de-escalation. Sometimes it means preparation. Now let's bring this back to the bigger picture. Why does this matter so much? Because this conflict is not isolated. It affects global energy, global markets, and global security. If the Strait of Hormuz remains unstable, fuel prices around the world will rise. If the war expands, supply chains will be disrupted. And if major powers get directly involved, the geopolitical balance will shift. This is not just about one region. This is about the future of global stability. So what should we watch next? Here are the key signals. Watch troop movements. Watch naval deployments. Watch missile activity. And most importantly, watch whether actions match words. Because in geopolitics, actions always reveal the truth, not statements. Right now, the world is standing at a very fragile moment. One path leads to negotiation, another leads to prolonged conflict, and a third leads to something much bigger. The military buildup we are seeing today is not accidental. It is calculated, it is strategic, and it is a clear warning that the situation